On the quiet green hills of Abuja, St. Augustine's College stands bathed in morning mist, a fortress of faith and discipline nestled between ancient trees that whisper secrets to the wind. The red brick walls shimmer under the first light of dawn, the bell tower standing tall like a silent guardian watching over generations of students who have passed through its gates. As the chapel bell tolls at exactly 5 a.m., its echo rolls through the hills, deep, solemn, and sacred. One by one, students in crisp white shirts and navy blue uniforms emerge from their dormitories, shoes clicking against the wet cobblestones. Their breaths form pale clouds in the cold morning air as they walk toward the chapel in orderly lines, the faint rustle of rosaries and murmured prayers blending with the low hum of insects waking to the light. Unbeknownst to them, something unseen stirs within the fog, ancient, watchful, patient. Inside the chapel, candles flicker in their brass holders, and the faint scent of incense lingers from last night's vespers. 17-year-old Joshua, the school's chapel prefect, kneels alone before the altar. His spotless white shirt glows faintly in the dim light, and his silver cross pendant catches the flame of a nearby candle. He bows his head in quiet reverence. "Lord," he whispers, "let my heart not grow weary in your service." His words hang in the silence, as if the air itself listens. Then, suddenly, a chill. The candles waver, the curtains tremble though no window is open. A cold, invisible wind brushes past his ear. And then, a whisper. "Joshua." The voice is soft yet commanding, tender yet filled with something unearthly. Joshua's eyes widen. Slowly, he lifts his head. Standing behind the altar is a faint figure, tall, robed in a white cassock burnt at the hem, his face gentle yet solemn. It is Reverend Father Dominic, the school's late chaplain who vanished a decade ago during a midnight mass. His presence is both peaceful and terrifying, his form flickering like mist in candlelight. Joshua opens his mouth to speak, but the apparition fades, dissolving into the still air as though it had never been. Only the candles remain, flickering wildly, casting trembling shadows across the chapel walls. That evening, Joshua stays back after class to clean the chapel. The setting sun paints the stained glass with a golden glow, but the air feels heavy, watching. As he straightens a slightly tilted crucifix on the wall, a loose brick shifts and falls to the floor with a hollow thud. Behind it lies a narrow gap, and inside, a folded, half-burnt piece of paper. Heart-pounding, Joshua unfolds it carefully. The edges are blackened, the handwriting faint but urgent, the seal was broken, the prayers must not stop. He stares at the note, confusion and dread battling within him. That night, unable to sleep, he sneaks out of the dormitory and meets Teni in the courtyard. The moonlight reflects off the wet cobblestones, and the sound of crickets fills the silence between them. Joshua shows her the note. Teni reads it twice, her expression hardening. "This isn't just a message," she says in a low voice. "It's a warning." Her words send a chill through him. The chapel bell rings in the distance, though the time is past midnight. Then, a flashback. 10 years earlier. Thunder roars as Father Dominic stands before the same altar, holding a Bible high, his voice echoing, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High," lightning flashes through the stained glass. The congregation gasps. The air thickens with unseen force. In a blinding blaze, Father Dominic vanishes, leaving behind only his burnt cassock and the smell of smoke. Back in the present, strange things begin to happen. During morning devotion, lightning crashes through the chapel window, shattering the colored glass into a storm of light and fragments. Students scream and duck for cover. In the chaos, Joshua collapses at the altar, clutching a torn Bible page that bears only one verse, Psalm 91 verse 1. Candles go out. The chapel plunges into darkness. That night, the chapel bell tolls again, though its rope was cut years ago. Bible pages flutter across empty pews as if stirred by unseen hands. The words, "The prayers must not stop," glow faintly on the walls. Shadows begin to move independently of light, crawling like living things. Fear grips the entire school. Teni, Chika, and Bolu, Joshua's closest friends, gather in the dormitory. "This isn't natural," Bolu whispers. "It's spiritual." Chika grips her rosary tightly. "Then we fight it on our knees," she declares. Rain pours heavily that night as the three of them sneak into the chapel with torches and trembling hands. The door creaks open to reveal the altar drenched in shadows. The air smells of burnt incense and wet stone. As they move closer, Chika's torch catches something beneath the pulpit, a bundle wrapped in scorched cloth. They unwrap it slowly and gasp. Inside lies a blood-stained diary, its cover engraved with the name Reverend Father Dominic. Before they can open it, the chapel doors slam shut with a deafening bang. The torches flicker out. A deep, guttural whisper fills the air, not one voice, but many, speaking at once, echoing through the walls. The prayers stopped, and so we came. A dark figure rises from the altar, tall and twisted, its face hidden by shadow. The walls tremble. The candles ignite on their own, glowing with unnatural blue flames. Chika raises her Bible, her voice breaking yet fierce. "The Lord rebuke you." The creature screams, a sound that shatters every remaining window. Bolu falls to his knees, praying loudly, and Teni begins to sing a hymn, shaky but powerful. Light and shadow clash violently, waves of heat and cold rippling through the room. Then, in a burst of divine brilliance, a radiant form appears beside Joshua, Father Dominic, glowing, his face filled with peace. "Fear not," he says gently, placing a hand on Joshua's shoulder. "For I am with you." The darkness shrieks one last time before disintegrating into dust. The candles steady. The air clears. Silence returns, holy and heavy. Elsewhere on campus, Mrs. Oladil, the school principal, sits in her dim office, the rain tapping softly on the window. On her desk lies the same blood-stained diary. Her hands tremble as she stares at its pages before throwing it into the fire. "Some truths," she murmurs, "are better left buried." The flames flicker higher, casting her shadow long and thin against the wall. Outside, thunder growls. That night, Com returns to St. Augustine's. The rain stops. The sky clears. Inside the chapel, Teni, Chika, and Bolu kneel at the altar once more. Their voices, soft but firm, rise in prayer. A warm light fills the chapel, wrapping around them like an embrace. Joshua stands beside Father Dominic's glowing spirit, smiling peacefully. The storm has passed, both in heaven and on earth. As dawn breaks, the chapel bell rings softly once more. The mist rolls gently over the green hills, washing away the night's terror. And faintly, carried on the morning wind, Joshua's voice echoes through the still air. "Men ought always to pray, and not to faint." It had been 6 peaceful months since the old chapel was sealed. St. Augustine's College finally felt free, laughter returned, and Joshua Adeyemi now led fellowship with renewed faith. His favorite verse echoed in every heart. "Men ought always to pray, and not to faint." Teni, Chika, and Bolu were now called the 3 prophets, a name they carried with shy smiles. But peace can be fragile. One evening, a transfer student named Moyo arrived, quiet, calm, and carrying a strange air. During introductions, she mentioned she'd once attended Father Dominic's old parish. The name froze everyone. That night, at exactly 12:01 a.m., the chapel bell, silent for half a year, tolled once. The next morning, glowing markings appeared on the chapel doors. Alive, like burning scripture. Joshua felt it instantly. Something sacred had been disturbed. Gathering the group, he said firmly, "If darkness rises again, we'll meet it the same way, in prayer." That night, under heavy rain, they returned to the chapel. The air smelled of ashes and old incense. Beneath the cracked altar, they found a hidden staircase leading underground. In the chamber below, one candle flickered beside a circle drawn in ashes. Strange symbols crawled across the verses on the wall. Moyo whispered, "This is where it began, the covenant between light and shadow." Then, the flame died. A deep voice echoed through the walls. "You broke the seal, now you will keep the promise." The ground trembled. Bolu cried out. Joshua raised his Bible and declared, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" Moyo opened her journal and read Father Dominic's final words. "The day light meets ashes, the bloodline will rise. But only faith, not fear, can seal what was broken." They joined hands and prayed. The earth shook harder, until a burst of golden light flooded the room. The shadows screamed, then vanished. When they climbed out, the storm was gone. The chapel stood calm, washed clean by dawn. Joshua smiled faintly. The covenant is over. But prayer never ends. And as the bell rang softly in the morning light, the whispers finally faded, forever. The following morning, the school buzzed with rumors. Some said the strange marks disappeared overnight. Others swore a gentle light glowed through the cracks at dawn. Chika sat quietly in class, exhausted but at peace. When she looked out the window, the chapel seemed new again. During assembly, Mr. Akin, the chapel warden, said softly, "Whatever darkness hovered here has lifted." Someone prayed when no one else would. Chika didn't speak, but she knew. The whispers had stopped because someone finally listened. That night, as she drifted to sleep, a soft breeze brushed her curtain. It carried a faint echo. "Thank you." She smiled, whispered a prayer of gratitude, and peace returned to St. Augustine's once more.